So I just recorded 20 minutes of me talking to nothing because apparently OBS for some reason just wasn't capturing any audio at all. So this is great. I'm really happy. Goodnight Punpun. It's a manga by Inio Asano about the trials and tribulations of Oyamusi Onodera Punpun? I don't even know. Is that what's his first name? I don't remember. Anyway, he's like an elementary school kid and he has just all these traumas and things that he goes through. And something cool that the manga does is the manga has these like really strange abstract presentations of Punpun's internal emotional um, expression, or how he is imagining his life going. And so it uses a lot of like rails. There's a lot of like train imagery that's used a lot of the time. And that makes a lot of sense because when you're a child, you don't really have a lot of control. You feel like your life is on rails. So, and there's a lot of space stuff. And because Punpun, one of his early goals to impress this girl he likes is to discover a new planet, get a Nobel Prize, and then like take all of humanity to this new planet. Even though when we're shown the new planet, it's like smaller than, I don't know, it's like a cheese ball. Like you could like walk around it in like 3 seconds. So I don't know how all of humanity is gonna fit on that, but that's his dream. That's what he wants to do. And as we find out, Punpun is a little fucking stupid. Anyway, um, it's pretty cool. Like the non-diegetic cut-ins of this like strange abstract art really saves the manga because the story is not interesting. I will say that right away, right off the bat. The story is not interesting in any way whatsoever. It's just a main character who has no agency, and the agency that he does have, he constantly like chooses. He chooses inaction over and over again, or he chooses cowardice over and over again, and he makes no progressive progress to not being garbage. Like, it's frustrating, but the imagination with which the things that Punpun is dealing with is displayed artistically is quite interesting. So that saves volume one, to me anyway. Um, I think I'm gonna talk through volume two and three as well. I haven't. Did I finish volume three? Yeah. I just finished volume three, so I think I'm on volume four now. And boy, what happens in volume one? Well, pretty early on, there's a DV, there's a domestic violence. Pun Pun's dad. It's all drawn very comically. Like the volume one is a very comedic manga. It gets less funny as Pun Pun gets older because it's solidifying some of the trauma that he's experienced into things that you can't imagine in a funnier sense, and is no longer like detached from you. Like you don't have that youthful invincibility anymore. Like Pun Pun is becoming closer to feeling what's really happening, and those things are presented in a way that are closer to life and not as like abstracted or silly as they are in volume one. So one of the things is in volume one, DV happens real early. Pun Pun comes down the stairs, and mom's just on the floor with a big welt on her head. And I thought these were her arms that are sticking up, like she had rigor mortis, but it's actually, as we come to find out later on, they're her breasts. And I think, thinking about it now, she must have had breast enhancement surgery after the divorce because her boobs are like twice as big later on in the manga. So I don't know that unless it's like some Nami character development from One Piece, like look at this good character development, her boobs just get bigger, even though her boobs were already huge in the first chapter. Anyway, mom's just laying there on the floor, rigor mortis. Pun Pun comes down the stairs, and the dad's like, Pun Pun, you're not gonna believe it. A burglar broke in. You believe me, right, Pun Pun? And it's like a close up of Dad's face. And the dad is, I guess I haven't told you yet. I mean, you can Google search it and see. I'm not gonna describe the visuals too much, just because like, why would I'm not gonna describe the visuals. Just go fucking look at the art. That's gonna do a better job of showing it than I can. But I will describe this. Um, the bottom panel is the dad's face, side profile, like kind of like zoomed in, like he's like getting close to you, and he's like, "You believe me, right, Pun Pun?" So it's a real like, ooh, oh yeah, of course, Dad, I believe you. There was a burglar. Sure. Um, we come to find out though later on that it wasn't actually a burglar. That wasn't what happened. What really happened is Pun Pun's mom. You're not gonna believe this. Pun Pun's mom picks up a knife. She actually starts dual wielding knives, and she says she's gonna kill Pun Pun and then kill herself because she just doesn't want to live anymore. Now, mind you, this Pun Pun's mom is like, I think I've never seen her work a job in the manga yet, in 3 volumes, so I don't know what she has to complain about. And there's probably I'm being a little judgmental there, and I'm probably being a little sexist because I mean this is like 80s in Japan, so like women working probably wasn't as consistent in like America. There's some pretty sexist laws when it comes to like raising children, to my understanding in Japan, and I think it's actually illegal, or was illegal to work a full time job if you had a child as a woman. I think that was actually like a policy that Japan had. I don't know. There's a lot of weird sexist shit when it comes to child related policies and laws and things in Japan, to my understanding. So part of the story is a little bit of a miss for me because I don't know all that information, and I probably is a lot of a miss for other people who just don't even know that any of that stuff even existed. But anyway, um, Pun Pun's mom is like in the hospital for a long time, and then she meets a girl named Midori who um, probably wants to be a lesbian with. Pun Pun's mom is like 35 plus minimum, probably 35 plus or something. Um, and there's the divorce, and then the uncle character comes in, and the uncle in volume 1 is like a really cool guy. He's like the best character in the manga. He's given Pun Pun choco pies. He's the one who told Pun Pun the phrase tinkle hoy, tinkle, dear god, tinkle hoy. I forget the order of the phrase, but it's some phrase that his uncle tells him that makes God appear. And then did I talk about this yet? I don't even remember. Skip this part if I talked about this because I just recorded 20 minutes of nothing, so I apologize. But Pun Pun's idea of God is a Afro Japanese man who just says like mean things to Pun Pun. And then in the later volumes, he says like homicidal things to Pun Pun, like he's telling him to kill people. And you quickly learn that like this is clearly, this is like the imaginary friend. This is like Pun Pun's real thoughts, but um, they're too real for Pun Pun to like accept as part of who he is. So he has to like distance himself from these thoughts by compartmentalizing them thoughts into another character. And this other character is God, which is probably not a good person to put your secret thoughts into because he's the one who controls everything. Yeah, Pun Pun's not very smart. Anyway, what's like the big plot for volume 1? The big plot involves Pun Pun and Aiko's relationship. Aiko is a proto manic pixie dream girl. She's in elementary school, so she's not like old enough to be wild and free because she lives at home where she's getting abused. But she has all the kind of trappings of that, where she's like gonna pull Pun Pun out of his shell. She's gonna make Pun Pun want to be a better man. She's gonna wow Pun Pun with her like wild and free, carefree attitude, but she's secretly harboring all this like dark trauma. And Aiko is just, if I think there's there's like not even a single good character I can think of. Like Midori is good, but then like halfway through volume 3, Midori becomes the worst character in the manga. Oh man, Midori, boy, they really need to character assassinate in this manga. Anytime you think a character is good, nope, they're bad. Everybody's bad. Nobody is good. Main character is probably the worst. I mean, he hasn't done anything yet, but he's a fucking piece of shit too. Um, yeah, but the uncle character, he starts cool, but then you find out that he like cheated on his girlfriend, and but like it's not very clear. I think he like double cheated. He like cheated again. There's like a time skip, and I don't know. It's really stupid, but he like cheated twice. Like he's just an idiot, and then he got like blackmailed the second time, and he's like gonna kill himself, but then he doesn't because he meets a nice taxi man, and then he off screen. That's the problem. Is all the interesting story stuff happens off screen when it comes to the uncle character, like Yuichi. I think that's the uncle character's name. Yuichi and like Midori resolve their relationship off screen, or they resolve their relationship problems, which is like, thanks, great. I'm glad that happened. I'm glad you dedicated time to like dumb plot lines. Um, I don't have too many complaints about like stupid plot lines, but there is one that I hate the most. But anyway, back to the volume one. Aiko is constantly like, "Oh, you're a coward. You know, you couldn't tell the class how you really felt about the story about wanting to be an astronaut and saving the planet or whatever." And she's like, "I hate you now." And then like she's like, "Oh, I love you again. I hate you now. I love you again. Oh, I hate you." And then there's like one time where she's like, "Oh, okay, this is the last chance, Pun Pun. I'm gonna love you, but you gotta run away with me to Kawaga Mashima." And then of course Pun Pun is not gonna like he doesn't have the money to do that, and he's stupid and dumb. So he doesn't even he there's like a family emergency too, and like the volume ends with like him driving by in a car with his family or some shit, and he sees her, and then like he hasn't talked to her for like 2 years when they get into like middle school because he like didn't run away with her to like Kawagashima, whatever the fuck village she wanted to go to. I don't know. It's fucking stupid. She just constantly shit tests Pun Pun for no reason, even though like Pun Pun just doesn't talk. Like he doesn't. He's almost a silent protagonist, which is relatable. Unfortunately, I can relate to Pun Pun a lot, uh, which hurts because I used to be like Pun Pun. I didn't talk a lot. I didn't see the point in talking. I didn't say how I felt. I couldn't say how I felt. Like, and I tricked myself into believing that it was pointless to even do so. But the reality of it is that I just didn't have the ability to talk to people about things. Kind of the same way that Pun Pun was. So like I also had a family that was quite traumatic. So I was just kind of like frozen in terror when it came to like internal expression, because my internal expression was also very similar to Pun Pun's like God thing, where he like Pun Pun filters all of his negative thoughts through this God character. And for me, like I had all these negative thoughts and feelings about my life, so I couldn't really talk to people because I couldn't think that anyone would be comfortable hearing these things, and one, giving a shit. You're like a little kid, like who's gonna care about that stuff? Two, you don't know if it's wrong. Like you don't know if what you're complaining about is valid because you don't have any other experiences. Like it took me a long time to learn what's normative family behavior and what's um, bad, harmful family behavior. And that didn't happen until I started going to friends' houses and seeing how they dealt with problems and how they talked, and then comparing that to my family. I'm like, something's not right here. This is fucked up. But by the time you make that realization, it's a little too late. Unlike Pun Pun, I didn't grow up to be a loser, so there's that. But if you want, you can leave a comment saying I did. Anyway, so Pun Pun Aiko storyline's kind of dumb because she's just constantly shit testing him, and Pun Pun just loves her for like no reason. And there's like one plot line where like Pun Pun is in this club in elementary school called the Porn Watchers Club, the PWC, and they find a porno one day, and on the tape, they're all watching it together, mind you, and on the tape, as soon as it's about to get to the sexy part, some guy like it edited over the tape, and he's like telling them how he killed his whole family and buried them at this old ramen factory or some shit. And then they go there to the factory because the guy also said there's like $1 million, and Punpun's like, ooh, if I get $1 million, I can take Aiko to Kawaka Mishima. Ooh. So they all go there, and then they run into like a big titty high school goth GF who's like smoking, and then she's like, "You guys are losers. See you later." And then they go upstairs, and things start getting creepy. And then they go to the roof, and then some of the kids get like really scared, and shit starts happening that's like kind of weird. And then they like run into some character like, "Oh, let's get the fuck out of here." And then Aiko and Pun Pun are on the roof, and there's like an explosion, and there's like a character who's like in the distance. I think it's like, I don't know. There's some character in the distance, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so much stronger now," or something. I don't know what he says. I forget. He says something, and Pun Pun like pees himself or something, and like Aiko's like trapped over top of him, and also because like Pun Pun had to like pee for a long time, so he like pees himself. I don't know that. Anytime you put anything that's like, "Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. Oh God. Oh, I'm finally pee." Oh, like anytime you put any shit like that into like your story, that's clearly your fetish. Like, don't even pretend. Like, it's the same thing with Chainsaw Man and Fire Punch. Like, what's something that well, is there incest in Chain? There's not incest in Chainsaw Man, but both of them have like disgusting vomit and like weird sex stuff. Like, just weird. Oh no, there is implied incest. There, um, when Denji and Power are making out, um, Denji describes it as feeling like it's a sibling relationship, not a romantic, or right? I think I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, Pun Pun pees himself, and then they like get off the roof, and they're all like, "Oh yeah, we all survived," and they're walking away, and they basically have this weird supernatural experience. And then there's this one 2-page spread shot of the night sky. All the characters are like holding hands, and they're looking up, and it's like this great spread, and they're seeing this like shooting star, and it's just that camps off volume one in terms of like the high. Like we were already going down from like the action. There was the explosion, all that shit, whatever. And then like they're like, "Oh, we're all going home now." And then you see that moment, and it like kind of shoots back up where it's nothing plot wise that's happening, but it earmarks that event in the reader's mind and those children's minds, because as the manga continues to go, um, the sky becomes a reoccurring image of earmarked moments in the characters' stories. But yeah, that's basically volume one. Um, it's okay, but the story kind of sucks. I don't even volume two and three I read so fast they kind of blur. But basically, what happens is a character assassination for the uncle character. So the uncle starts dating a girl named Midori, but before that he like tells her his what he did in the past. So he was dating a woman, and they were gonna get married, but then he was teaching at a pottery class, and he started having sex with one of the women's daughters, and well, not have sex, but like pursuing her. She was pursuing him, and I don't know. She's crazy. Like her whole personality exists to justify her insane behavior. She like had an abortion before. She's just pursuing this guy, and she gets back to his place, and he's like, "Okay, no, like we shouldn't do this." And then um his girlfriend comes over, who like she wants to get married. So like they're basically like, fiance situation. And then he like puts the 16-year-old girl in the closet, and then he has sex with his girlfriend, and then he like walks the 16-year-old out, and then he gets found out, or oh no, what happens is that his coworker has sex with the 16-year-old as well. And then, or no, she like blew him. She blew uncle character's coworker at school, and then he is convinced by that girl to go kill her mom because she's crazy, and she's looking to find a beta male who will like get try to kill her mom. And it's so fucking it's so contrived. It's really fucking stupid. And that's the one problem with the Pun Pun story is that like so many of the plots are so contrived, and that's basically how that relationship kind of blows up. I guess I don't know. I kind of forget. But the main character, Uncle character, doesn't feel like he can be loved. Then he gets in a relationship with Midori. Um, Everything's going great. Uncle, Midori, Mom, Pun Pun, all living together. Everything's going great. Then like there's like a near the end of like volume two, uh, Uncle character just takes off and he's gone for like 10 days. And in that time, Pun Pun and Midori are alone at the cafe that she now owns partially. And yeah, Midori is a great character. There's nothing wrong with her other than just like maybe pursuing the wrong kinds of men. But this is Goodnight Punpun. This isn't Good Day Punpun. This is Goodnight Punpun. So, I'm just gonna say it. Midori rapes Punpun when he's 14 years old. Yeah, it just it's unbelievable. Like, and it's really weird too because Punpun is very superficially interested and he is physically attracted to Midori. Um, but at least it seems that way. But he does not like her after the rape, which sounds really stupid to say. I mean, it's hard to get an understanding of how Punpun feels because he doesn't reflect. Like in volume one, there's all this like abstract reflection on Punpun's feelings, and it's really interesting. But as he gets older, he loses that imagination, and he doesn't have anything else to express what he's reflecting. And mind you, like nobody in his life really asks too much about how he's like feeling or thinking, except for like the female romance characters who usually take it in stride, except for like the date that he has in volume three that he then attempts to rape her. And he, based on the later commentary, seems like Pun Pun believes that he was attempting to rape her as well. That it wasn't just like he was getting physically close to her and like gonna kiss her, like he was gonna do the rape, like that was gonna happen. Um, but yeah, Pun Pun really, really hates Midori after she rapes him. She just like gets on top of him and then like, pulls his dong out and they do it. It's not like violent or anything, but it's like, hey, it's what it is. It's the R word, and Pun Pun does not like her after that. And I find that strange because like for a character who's so superficially interested in sex, like in volume two, like he's like 2 years older, so he's like fucking 12 or some shit. I don't know. He's in middle school. He's like second year middle school or some shit. And it says like, oh, like so much of the volume is spent with Pun Pun's interest about sex. He's like Pun Pun wanted to have sex, and seemingly he has that same goal in volume three. Except by volume three, he like there was like some stupid backstory with, not backstory, but like side plot with Aiko again. She comes back in the picture. It's stupid. He like abandons her again, and this time it seemed like she was more rational with her expression, but Pun Pun's just like, nah, I'm gonna go study book. Me do book now. It just makes no sense. It's really dumb. I mean, it does make sense a bit, but it, it's Pun Pun's attempt at being honorable, but it's like totally misplaced. Like he's not reading the room. Like clearly he had like an agreement with this other character, and the other character lost. Like technically, like he won, but like Pun Pun, the other person who like set up the gamble was such a more honorable person. I think that's why Pun Pun didn't feel good about winning, because for him it didn't matter either way. And then he was also going to break the gamble before the resolution was even like revealed. Basically, like he was like a cheater. So part of Punpun's penitence is to like take it upon himself to like push Aiko away this time. And Aiko is like a recurring character who like he'll, I assume, end up with in the end, but it's gonna be like a horrible situation. Something stupid's gonna happen, I'm sure. But yeah, the uncle character is like just going around town being a sad loser, gets saved by Taxi Man. Midori's like a little bit distance. They don't ever talk about what happened, and she like comes around when Punpun's mom is back in the hospital again, and then while she's in the hospital, she meets a 16-year-old boy who she like wants to develop a relationship with. It's really creepy and weird. It's weird, and this is where we at the end of volume 3, Punpun's mom basically, they did an X-ray because of something happened to her, and the guy's like, yeah, so have they ever done any kind of like cancer screenings on you? And she's like, no, why? And then basically the next few pages, it's like a flash of her life and all these like scenes, these highlight scenes of her life, and none of them are good. She just looks like trash in all of them. Like she looks like a bad person, and then we finally see the truth about that domestic violence, that Punpun's mom was actually going to kill Punpun and then kill herself, and she's dual wielding knives, and the dad actually threw a microwave at her to save Punpun's life. And we never see the dad do any DVs, to my knowledge, other than that instance. So I don't know if I believe the mom if he actually did abuse her. I don't know. The dad's kind of shitty, but I don't think he was that bad. But the mom character is straight garbage. And near the end of the manga, she's like, "Oh, how are you doing?" And Punpun, like, he's just too scared. He doesn't know how to talk to his mom because his mom is such a horribly frightening character, and she's so volatile and shitty. Oh, the mom also. Oh, that's what happens. The mom is having an affair with another man who he is married, and during that, she can't breathe. She has a hole in her lung, and then they give her an X-ray, and then they find out she has cancer, and that's like the bomb that drops at the end of volume 3, and uh, Punpun's mom is just like, "Oh, I hate you, you little shit." Like she just finally says how she feels, which is that like she just hates Punpun, and she said that to other people, like she hates him, and like basically, no, that's not even how it ends. I think she dies at the end of volume 3. I'm pretty sure. I almost forget, but like she is there's like all these crazy time skips at the end of volume 3. It's like going all over the place. You have to give me a break. It's a little much, but it's like going all over the place. You're seeing the past, you're seeing things from the future, you're seeing like Midori at the hospital, and then like Punpun's there, and she's like, "Oh, I love you, Punpun," and then she's like, "Oh no, I don't," or something like, I never did. I'm shit, but you still forgive me, right?" And Punpun's just kind of like standing there or something, and then like the next shot, it's like a grave and she's dead. So like, and then it's like 2 years later. So, um, she's dead. I don't know who's Punpun living with. Maybe Uncle, but if he's living with Uncle, that means he's living with Midori. So then he's living with his girl that raped him. Yeah, that's not a good situation to be in. Um, I would say Punpun is a. There's a lot of chaff in the story. There's a lot of stuff that could be edited out. There's a lot of stuff that just doesn't matter to the plot. That's just there to be goofy and interesting. Like I didn't even mention the side story where Seki um, writes his friend's phone number on a solicitation handyman note that's posted up in town, and immediately gets a call from a bitter girlfriend to go murder her ex-boyfriend, and then she pays him $1,000 to this like freshman high school. Like, that plot is fucking stupid. And that's the one thing where like there are some like plot contrivances and like side plots that are just like, why are you wasting my time with this? Like all these characters have like drifted away. Like all these characters from like volume 1, who they were in elementary school together, drift apart, and you still see like side stories of those characters as they get older. Maybe they'll come back in, but like I would rather have seen the reconciliation between the uncle character and Midori rather than see this stupid side story about Seki going on an assassination mission like it's a fucking video. That was fucking stupid. Like that was, why would you waste my time with that? I don't care about this character. I hardly know who he is, and the uncle character's plot is way more interesting, and we don't even see how he comes back. It's a little odd, but the art's pretty good. The faces are hideous. Like every character has ears like this. Like they all have monkey ears, and their ears like stick out like this. It's really, really awkward and weird looking. So all the characters are hideous as hell, except Punpun, who's like a little ghost bird. But I guess Punpun's black because you see, anytime a person is interacting with one of the Punpun family members, they're drawn as human, but you never see their faces. Um, but their skin is like tar black. I don't is Punpun black? I don't, what does that mean? I don't know what the symbolism there is. What does that mean? Why is his skin like pitch black? Like he's a charred tree man or something. I don't understand. Um, did I say this in the beginning about Viz Media? Buy this on Google Books. Google Books Reader is actually very good. It has a lot of cool quality of life features. When you click left, it'll show an expanded image of the text. It's amazing. Viz Media Reader, I look. You can't even scroll on Viz Media Reader. You have to use the arrow keys. Could you imagine what kind of fucking archaic technology is it? You got to use the arrow keys. Like, come on. Anyway, that was I guess volume 1 to 3. Even though I skipped over volume 2. For 400 plus pages, it's really hard to say what happens. But the art is really great. And there are always these like kind of flash in the pan moments that signify beauty that extends beyond the art. It's beauty of the moment. I don't know if there's like a term for that. I don't know art enough to express it better, but there are these moments where you have to imagine the characters. The art is good, but when you imagine the characters and you imagine the state that you were in and when you were, you know, that age, you can collect something that has been lost from you. I think that's the real beauty of art, is that it allows us to embrace experiences that we otherwise could not have, or recapture experiences that we've lost that are or were significant to us. And I think Punpun does that very well. So I would have to give it a 9 out of 10 so far. I like it better than Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man didn't really have any. Chainsaw Man wasn't really doing a whole lot in terms of ideas. It's a little too goofy for me. I did like Chainsaw Man though. I like Fire Punch more though. Fire Punch is great, just because it has incest and bestiality implied. Oh, anyway, thanks for listening.